What's up, River Rock? Hey, my name's Eric. I'm the director of Transit Student Ministries. Thank you for checking in with us this Sunday. Hey, they brought me in because this week is our graduate recognition Sunday. So what we're going to do is we want to give a little shout out to our graduates who've put in the years, they've put in the work, and they're now graduating, moving on to that next chapter of their life. So graduates, we love you. We love getting to know you. We love the time and the tears that we've put in. We love the laughs and the memories that we've created. Thank you so much for your time here at River Rock. And we want to let you know that whatever this next chapter looks like, whatever adventures come your way, guys, that River Rock is still your home. Whether college is next, whether you're going into the workforce, you're learning a trade, joining the military, whatever comes next, remember you have a place to come back to. You have a place that is praying for you, that is checking in on you, that still cares about you. Guys, you've been amazing. We've really, really enjoyed our time, and we look forward to what your next stage, your next step here at River Rock looks like as you enter into some of our young 20s and young adult groups. River Rock, we're about to go through a list of some of our seniors, and I want you to pause the video, take a screenshot, something, but I want you to commit for the next month or so to pray for these seniors by name, as they're about to face some new life challenges and new adventures, to take a moment in your day and pray for these seniors. These seniors are Kayon Walker, Deyoe, Abidjon Yond, Zoe Gibson, Izzy Pruin, and Bailey Hurst. Guys, thank you for putting in the work, for getting here, for doing this, for achieving this goal. You guys are awesome. I've loved our time. I can't wait to hear the reports of what are going to happen in your life and the many ways that God is going to use you moving forward. With the rest of our service, thank y'all for tuning in. We got an amazing service. It's about 50 more minutes. And up next, we have Erica and Alex to come and lead us in some music. But before we do, if this is all new to you, if River Rock's new to you, maybe you were invited or this link was sent to you by a friend, and you want some more information about who we are, what we're about, and what we do, text WELCOME to the number on the screen right now, and someone will get in contact with you. Guys, thank y'all for letting me come up here and do this. I hope y'all have an amazing rest of the service. See you later.
Hey everybody, we are back here with you, bringing you some worship songs. I know that things have looked a little different over the last couple of months, and if you're like me, you're probably wondering when things are going to get back to normal and what we can do while we wait. Well, we can worship while we wait. We can pray while we wait, and we can look at all the things that we're thankful for. And today, before we got here to play, I was just thinking, and the lyrics of this song start with, "Here as we wait in this place." And I think there's no better way to describe what we're doing. We are waiting. We're waiting on things to change. We're waiting on things to go back to normal. So until we can collectively meet as a church in our building or otherwise, I think that's exactly what we should do. We should wait and seek and be still. So I hope you enjoy this song and sing along with us as you catch on. Here as we wait, seek your face. Come and make your throne upon our praise. And here in this place, have your way. The moment that we see you, we are changed. Show us your glory. Show us your glory. In wonder and surrender, we fall down. Show us your glory. show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy ground. Holy ground. And here, not by power and not by might, but only by the cross we come alive. And here we're undone, overcome by heaven's love revealed before our eyes. Show us your glory, show us your glory. In wonder and surrender we fall down. Show us your glory, show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy ground. Show us your glory, show us your glory. In wonder and surrender we fall down. Show us your glory, show us your glory. Let every burning heart be holy ground. In chains fall, in fear bow, here and now. Jesus, you changed everything, and lives are healed, and hope is found here and now. Jesus, you change everything. Chains will fall and fear bow here and now. Jesus, you change everything, and lives are healed, and hope is found. Oh, here and now. Jesus, you change everything. Oh, you change everything. All the chains, they fall, and fear has to bow, because here and now, oh Jesus, you change everything, and lives are healed, and hope is found. Oh, here and now, Jesus, you change everything. Thank you so much for worshiping with us today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and look for some new music next week. See ya.
Today we're going to talk about the next generation, about what does it look like for us to fight for resilience for the next generation. But instead of me talking about it alone by myself, I thought, you know what? I don't know enough about this with the next generation. My kids are 10, 8, 6, 4, and 1.5. So we've still got a long way to go before we can say anything about parenting. But I did want to invite a good friend of mine who's been a part of this church for a long time, Dr. Tim Elmore, to come join us for this conversation. So I'm going to play a little video. We're going to play a video. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit here and watch the video with you. But we're just going to play a little transition video, and then Tim's going to be up here, and I'd love for you to say hello to him in just a bit. But we're so glad that you're a part of this for part 4 of Fight For It. Welcome, Dr. Tim Elmore, North Point. Say hello to him again if you would. All of our Atlanta area churches and partner churches that are watching, thanks for being a part of this. Tim, your water fell.
Yes,
Don't
it did.
Make sure that gets.
It's one of
set up
many
straight.
mistakes I will make in the next 30 minutes.
No, you are you are an expert, which is really so fun. And this is your church. I mean, this is you travel around and do so many different things. You run an organization. Yesterday, you did a TED Talk in Chicago. That's pretty spectacular. Not many people get to do TED Talks, but you got to do one. Tim got to do a TED Talk. How cool is that? One day we're going to be doing Tim Talks, I guess. So, but thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, this has been such a great, this church, we raised our kids here. Both of our kids are now adults. Jonathan's on staff at North Point now.
Yeah.
So this has been a great, great blessing. Thanks for letting me crash the party here.
Well, we're glad that you're with us. We want to talk about resilience, building resilience in the next generation.
Yep.
But before we get to the next generation, I want us to do a quick look back. You do such a great job. You've written numerous books. You've studied so many different generations. But set the stage for us. Give us some context for how we can think about how resilience really has changed throughout generations.
Yeah. So we are living at a time where there are 6 sociological generations living at the same time. First time in modern history that's happened.
Wow.
Because people are living longer and we're still having babies. So we've literally moved in the last 100 years from the tail end of the industrial revolution to the intelligence age. We went through the information age. So these are the generations. We'll put them on the screen right here. The builder generation would be the oldest, still influencing the world. My parents and my in-laws both are part of this builder generation. But then as we progressed further down to the youngest kids we're measuring today, Generation Z, or the Homelanders, they were born, really they're the kids that have grown up in the 21st century.
Wow.
And one historian calls them the Homelanders because the first year of their existence as a generation was the Department of Homeland Security's beginning as well.
You call the busters here, this is Gen X, but you call them the busters.
Yeah, so the baby boomers are called boomers because there was a boom of babies 9 months after World War II was over, okay? That's a biology lesson for you right there. And then come the baby busters. The buster generation started with the introduction of the birth control pill. So there was a bust, not a boom. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. And then the millennials, we've talked about the millennials over the last 15 years. Sure. They're now young professionals, and now the kids today are the Homelanders. All I'm saying by this is my mom and dad's generation had to be resilient. They had to be resourceful. My dad's first 15 years were the Great Depression and then World War II.
Wow.
So the growing victory gardens, they used to hang up napkins after dinner, let them dry off, we'll use them again. You know, that was the kind of life they had. And they looked around and didn't feel poor because everybody else was doing the same thing. So we had a different narrative here that this is just tough, but we're all gonna do it. Well, now we're in a whole different age where everything seems to be a quick click. We're Ubering to school or whatever, you know, those kinds of things are going on. And it's just a little bit easier. We've made life easier with the introduction of the intelligence age. And so maybe resilience is more necessary today because we don't develop it. The muscle of resilience didn't get developed like it did perhaps back 80 years ago.
One of the things we're going to talk about, how parents sometimes, we have a role to play. Grandparents, parents, mentors, aunts, uncles, we will not try to list those out every time, but all of us can really affect the next generation.
Yeah, no
and
doubt.
Sometimes we can make the mistake of taking away pain, taking away hard things from the next generation, which is easy to do, but might not be the best.
I think there's a new parent report card today. We used to say a good parent gives their child whatever they need. Now we feel like you're a good child if you give them anything they want. It's not always true, but that often in Alpharetta, that's kind of the new report card. So we feel like if you're, am I not right about that? So
you got some claps.
Yeah, that's right. We have four fans.
Right.
So I would say part of the dilemma is we think good parenting is to remove hardship. What mom wouldn't want to remove hardship?
Yep.
But if we think prepare, not just protect, then we're raising probably better end results. So I always encourage moms and dads, think preparation. Think this way. You're not raising a child, you're raising a future adult. And how do we do that well? So a couple of good examples of this. We work with a number of athletic teams, college teams, pro teams. So a few years ago, we were working with the Atlanta Braves, working with their minor league clubs. And one of the hitting coaches told me that he had a young 19-year-old minor league ball player who was trying to learn how to hit a breaking pitch. So he was showing him, and then he said, now you take some swings. Well, the young player took 3 swings and just threw down the bat and said, it's not working. And he goes, you just took 3 swings. He goes, I know. The coach said, it's going to take 3,000 swings, you know. But that's all of us. That's me too. If it's not quick, then forget it. I'll move on to something else.
Yep.
And I think resilience only gets built if we say, I'm going to stick with this marriage. I'm going to stick with this relationship, this job, and say, I'm going to build this muscle.
I love that. There's a picture that I want you to set up.
Yeah.
You got, it was an email, I think, from a grandfather.
Yeah. So we stay in touch with lots of parents and grandparents. So a grandfather emailed me. See, Tim, I've heard you talk about this, so many times. He said, I was babysitting my grandchildren this last Saturday. It's 3 grandkids. And he said, 3 times before 10 a.m., my daughter, their mother, had called me to make sure they're safe, that they've not fallen down and so forth. So he said, I decided to send her a picture, and I sent this picture. Yes, we're having breakfast, and we're doing fine. We're gonna make it till noon, we think. Yes. Yeah, so, but it's just not a picture of us today. We're just elbow pads, knee pads, we just, now, there's
and it wasn't
nothing,
always that way.
No, it wasn't. And it's not, and in fact, one reason it wasn't always that, 100 years ago, you might have had 10 kids. More like
It's 5. It's 5, Tim. It's not 10, okay?
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
right.
okay if it was 10. Some
That's
of
right.
you have 10. I don't know. Way to go.
I just had this notion. If you had lots of kids to, work the farm, you couldn't dote over any one of them. There's too many of them. They're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, you think about the idea of one of the 10 kids 100 years ago playing travel ball and going and spending the night in a hotel with one kid.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. That's right. So when I think about life 100 years ago, today, moms and dads are writing cities and schools and taking the monkey bars and jungle gyms off the playground because we think, oh my gosh, they might fall off. But part of that process in the playground, that's where they're developing motor skills and resilience. I'm going to climb this high today. Next week, I'm going to climb that high. Our brains need to develop that way. Well, when we're yanking it off, we're not helping the problem or the helping with the solution. So the other picture I want to show you all, I don't know, Clay, if you've ever seen a picture of the monkey bars 100 years ago, back in 1900. They were very different. You want to see what it looks like? Check this out. This was the monkey bars. They were 3 stories high.
This looks like circus training.
Yeah. And they're just jumping and flying off. It's no wonder we won World War I. We'd been to recess, I'm telling you.
So, Tim, here's one of the things that you do such a great job of. You are so for the next generation.
Yes, I
mean,
really am.
you have spent your life trying to help the next generation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's safe to say that we are seeing a change in the amount of resilience that kids have. In a way, there's a decline, there's a degrading amount of resilience in kids.
Yeah.
What is causing that? What's happening?
Okay, there's a couple things happening just to think about it right now. First of all, if you think about it, when children are born, they're naturally resilient.
Right.
Watch a toddler learning to walk, a year and a half into his life or whatever.
We have one at home.
Okay, so you're experiencing
yes.
this right now.
Normally kids walk at 12 months, but our latest child, our 5th, it took him 17 and a half months to walk. But yes, I guess it was never too late for any
That's
of us.
right, absolutely.
Slow
Late bloomer.
learners. But when he falls down, no one has to even teach him. He just jumps right back up again, ready to go.
And I think we unwittingly sometimes start taking that away. Like, for instance, I just talked to a dad, and he said, yeah, we have a toddler, and the toddler just kind of flung the ball across the room. He said, I quickly ran it and got it and fetched it and got it back. He said, I should have said, son, go get it now. But we think good parents do it for them, and I think really good parents are saying, I'm for you, I'm going to let you, and in fact, empower you to get it yourself. So I think kids are resilient, and I think we don't mean to, but we somehow think good parents do it for them. Yeah.
And a lot of this is because of the amount of change that kids experience today that they might not have experienced. That maybe there was more stability in the past, and I know change is a part of this.
Yeah, it is. So think about this. We live in a day of rapid change. I think you would all agree with that, right? So think about kids growing up in this day. Things are changing so quickly. So years ago, about 50 years ago, we began to learn that change brings stress from a couple of doctors who began to develop an assessment for this called the social readjustment rating scale. So here's what they did. They started looking at all the changes that typically happen in someone's life. So moving to a new location, getting a new job, losing a job, marriage and divorce. Kids are now, these seniors are going off to college. So some of them are going to leave a school, go to a new school, move to a new city.
Yep.
So that would be some life change units that these guys would say that adds stress. In fact, here's what I'd say. As you think about your own kids, moms and dads, if they're going through several changes at the same time, they're going to be under more stress, positive or negative. And I think you ought to look at it this way. Just like your body has an immune system that can be worn down, and you catch a cold quicker when your immune system goes down, we have an emotional immune system. And when it gets worn down through lots of change, we're not as resilient. We don't fight back. We go, I'm going to not fight back. I'm going to give up. I'll try something else. I'm just going to quit. So I think we need to be careful that we're managing the change that happens to our kids.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because what you're not saying is you're not just looking at next generation saying like, hey, get it together. You need to be more resilient. Everybody else was resilient. What's your problem? You're not saying that.
No, not
In
at
a
all.
way, some of it is understandable because of what has happened, the amount of change that has taken place. And I think teenagers today are experiencing more stress. They're experiencing more anxiety than people were 50 years ago. I think
that's
you have a
exactly
quote that
right.
says that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when we started looking at the millennials, we started seeing a large population, the largest in American history, 80 million kids born in the 80s and 90s. And now it's a much smaller generation. There's a lot of reasons for that. But I think what we see is the narrative moving from large and in charge, I'm confident, to I'm cautious. In fact, think about the narrative over the last, the millennials were I'm large and in charge. Gen Z is more I'm coping and hoping. We've done focus groups over the last 24 months with middle school and high school kids. They've been great focus groups. I fall in love with these kids when I'm in front of them. But what I've noticed is there's a much more, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, anxiety and depression, mental health issues. In fact, I want you to hear this quote. Dr. Robert Leahy is a cognitive behavioral therapist, and he made this statement. Check this out. The average high school kid today has the same level of anxiety as the average psychiatric patient did in the 1950s.
Wow.
That's crazy. And it's partly just because of all this going on. They feel academic pressure. They feel pressure from mom and dad to make the grade, make the team, make the cut. And then, they're going out often feeling unready for the first job at 22. So I'm not saying they aren't. I think it's it's an amazing generation, but I think we don't realize the stress that they've gone through. And I think the media and culture and even music reflects that.
We see it in music.
Yeah, we do, yeah. So I want you to think for just a minute, if you keep up with pop culture, music actually reflects and directs our culture.
Wow.
So it will be a signal back what's happening, but will also direct the narrative we have in our head.
Wow.
And I'm saying the narrative in kids' heads today is different than it was 20 years ago. So let me just share a couple
give
of
us some
illustrations.
examples.
So Clay, you remember back in 2004, the Black Eyed Peas released a song called...
Oh, yeah. Let's
there
get it started.
Yeah.
This was the anthem of my 20s right here.
Yes, right there. Yeah.
I celebrate their whole collection. Will
Yes.
I Am, Fergie, all of them.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Clay singing this song before we get to worship today. I think that's what has happened.
right.
So anyway, so Black Eyed Peas, if you watch this music video, it's a bunch of young adults, all colors, dancing in the streets. Let's get it started, let's get it started. That
Party.
was the mantra.
Life is a party.
Life is a party.
Yeah.
Fast forward a decade, 2015, a band called 21 Pilots, who really has their finger on the pulse of the Homelanders or Generation Z, wrote a song called Stressed Out. And I realize there's different genres and different lyrics out there, but I picked this song today because it's such a picture of what's going on. So Stressed Out is all, here's some of the lyrics. Wish we could turn back time to the good old days where our mama sang us to sleep, but now we're stressed out. So the video, if you watch the music video, there's a young man, one of the band, lead singer of the band, riding a big wheel at 25 years old into mama's house, wishing he could turn back the clock. And he walks inside and he sings this song. In fact, you look at the picture above the fireplace, faith, family, and friends. Those were the good old days. So there's almost a wishful, life is way more stressful than it should be. In fact, the beginning of this song says, I was told when I was older, all my fears would shrink, but now I'm insecure and I care what people think. That's social media right there.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, it's just a different narrative.
Yeah.
So
and it didn't end with them. I mean, it continues.
So last year, there was a song that came out that was really a picture of what was happening, even more so in social media. So a band called Chainsmokers wrote a song called Sick Boy. And here's some of the lyrics. It's very interesting. Make no mistake, I live in a prison that I built myself. It's my religion. And they say, I'm a sick boy. So the lyrics in this song are very, very telling. Feed yourself with my life's work. How many likes is my life worth? Did you catch that? How many likes is my life worth? So they're measuring. Many of our middle school focus groups, the middle school kids were saying, I draw my primary sense of identity from social media.
Wow.
Not my family name, not the football team I play on, not my faith. So I'm waiting for people to like me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's a roller coaster emotionally. And then if you fast forward to this year, I wanted to stay current with this interview here.
You're way more current than most of us are already, just so you know.
Well, Clay helped edit the very first Habitudes book I did, and he made sure we put Snoop Dogg in the book. That's your pastor right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
The philosopher.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Dr. Snoop to you.
Dr. Snoop.
Okay. So a song called out by a singer named Nash. He's got a cult following. And he wrote a song called Let's Stay in Our Pajamas. Literally, that was called what it was called.
But it's not a silly, childish song.
No, the song is very melancholy. You should look up the lyrics. But here's some of the lyrics of the song. Let's watch TV with the sound off, because the news is always bad. Let's be immature and ignorant, because I don't feel like being sad. And then he's wondering if the next generation was better. I wonder if the next one's going to hell. And basically the chorus is, let's stay in our pajamas. Let's just stay inside in our pajamas. It's easier this way. And I'm thinking, I don't fault them. I'm saying, what did we not see as we were raising them to build a ready young adult rather than, I don't think I'm ready.
So what we're seeing in all of this, if I can just maybe give just an overarching observation, is that we're seeing life move from I have the ability to control, I can move forward, I can make decisions, to life is now happening to me.
Yes.
And all of this change that's around me is actually, it's affecting me to such a degree that I'm almost a victim now. I may as well just stay in my pajamas instead of having to get out in the world. And that affects our ability to build resilience, of course. And so one of the things we want to talk about today, maybe the primary foundational idea, is that there is a way that we can empower the next generation. All of us have a role to play in moving the ability to live their life from out here to inside of me.
Yeah.
So help us understand that.
Well, they are overwhelmed. The average young adult is overwhelmed. In fact, the latest nationwide survey reported 94% of college students in America say the number one word they use to describe their life is the word overwhelmed. 44% say I'm so overwhelmed it's difficult to function. 1 in 10 has thought about suicide. So that's just ridiculous. That life is not supposed to look that way. Would we agree with that? So we're in a day where you're absolutely right. We feel like life is happening to us, not from us. I'm not leading my way. I'm overwhelmed with 10,000 messages a day. The average adolescent takes in 10,000 messages a day. I don't think our brains are meant to take in that much. So we do an external locus of control. That's something you introduced the very first week of this series. So let me give you the backstory. Dr. Julian Rotter did some research back in the 1950s. In 1954, he came up with this assessment where he was measuring students' locus of control. You were either, he said, an external locus of control person.
Life is happening to me.
That's right. Or an internal locus of control. And here's the major difference of the two. Someone with an external locus of control would be the people that believe fate or external forces pretty much control the outcomes of my life. I get so overwhelmed reacting to life. And by the way, just think of social media, that it's up to somebody else. It's up to my mom to do it for me. It's up to my boss. It's up to my professor. That professor gave me a bad grade. You follow that? That's an external locus of control. An internal locus of control would be just the opposite. These are the people who believe that they are responsible and in control of their own success. Now, this is what we're trying to build in our own children. Be an internal locus. Don't put somebody, you own this. Now, first of all, let me just say, I think we'd all agree both happen in life. There are some things outside of our control, some things inside. But by 1963, 9 years into his research, Dr. Rotter concluded that those with an internal locus are measurably more successful in their lives. They get better care of their health, their marriages and family, their jobs. They just own their life, you would imagine. This is what we want to build in our kids. Now, here's the scary part. Since 1954, every year they're measuring these kids, there's been a slow and steady climb toward external locus. Probably because we live in the information age, we just, somebody else, you know. Now, here's what I'm really concerned about. I love kids. I'm just concerned about this. Since 2002, turn of the century, right when Gen Z started, students have shown a steep increase in external locus of control rather than internal locus. So they're just thinking, somebody's got to do this for me. And I'm thinking, if we're going to raise great adults, we got to say, no, I can do this. I can do this.
Well, what I love about what you have brought is that you're basically equating, which I don't know that I would have done without your help, is really understanding that your amount of resilience that you have, the amount of resilience that the next generation has, that it is correlated. It is proportionate to the where your locus of control is. And the greater sense of internal locus of control you have, the more resilient you're able to be.
Yeah, can I volley back on that real quick?
Yeah, please.
Here's what I think is happening. We all realize when we look around the world, it's a very polarized world. And I think parents go, there's many things in this world I cannot control. Dadgummit, I'm going to control the one thing I can, my children. And so we seize control, makes sense, but that builds an external locus in our children.
Right.
Mom will do it. In fact, there's a sign in the lobby of one of the schools we partner with at Growing Leaders. It's in Little Rock, Arkansas. The sign simply says, "Dear parents," if you're a parent, you're walking in seeing this sign. "If you're bringing in your son or daughter's forgotten science project or gym shorts, please turn around and exit the building. Your child will learn to problem solve in your absence." I'm just saying, I'm not saying. So, but we did this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the big idea. This is what we want to talk about over the last few minutes that we have is this right here. That this is, if you get nothing else, this is the main idea for us today, is that we fight for resilience in the next generation by helping them learn to internalize their locus of control.
Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously this term locus of control, it's not a word we use, it's not a phrase that we use every day, but it is so helpful to understand that, hey, we have a role to play, that we can help the next generation fight for resilience by helping them internalize their locus of control.
Yeah.
And this is consistent with what the men and women who led the first century churches were doing.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Because they had so many challenges and obstacles around them. And the writers of the New Testament are consistently saying, yes, of course there is a God. Yes, he controls the world, but you have the opportunity today to control your attitude and your belief and your faith and your hope. It is in you because God is in you. And so I want to give you just one picture of this. In Romans 12, verse 2, the Apostle Paul wrote to Christians scattered throughout Rome. He said, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world," which pattern of this world is external locus of control, but instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That there's this opportunity we have to transform our minds, to remind ourselves what is true, that we have the opportunity to control the narrative. We have the opportunity to make decisions today that will affect our own attitude and our own lives. And so what we're going to do over the last few minutes is I've asked Tim, I said, hey, just give us a couple of practical ways as parents. One of the things you do so well is giving us actual things we can do, and then also teaching through images. And so we're going to give you a couple of images for you to hang on to hold on to remember. But the whole idea is the role that we play in helping the next generation move the locus of control from outside of me to inside of me, where I think God designed us to live.
Yeah, good. All right, so this first step I would say is we need to model this and then teach our kids to affirm Scripture out loud. This may seem like hocus pocus. It's really not. It's a practice of the church for centuries. Where you're fighting cognitive distortions, that story we tell ourselves that isn't true. I'm a bad person. I'll never make it. I'm going to flunk this class. She's going to break up with me. All those distortions that get going. You're affirming Scripture right out loud. You're speaking the truth to displace the lies. I don't know how cheesy or corny this sounds, but I'm telling you, we've got to do this. I say 4 things to myself every morning before I get out of bed and go do my jumping jacks and hop in the shower. And it helps me just set my trajectory for the day.
Do you mind sharing? Can you share what those? Is it too personal for you to say? What are those?
It's pretty personal, but
I'm Tim. Okay. I'm awesome. I look great.
And doggone it, people like me.
There you go. 4 things.
Okay. No. Here's my 4 statements. I say them every morning. It's going to sound corny to some of you, so just bear with me. I say, God's on his throne. His promises are true. The devil's a liar, and my faith is a victor. That's how I start my day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good for me.
Can you we didn't rehearse that necessarily. Can you slow down and say those again? Can you give it? I'm serious. Some people want to write those down.
God is on his throne, so that's passages of Scripture right there in the Old and New Testament. His promises are true, so Jesus affirmed this word is true. The devil's a liar, so there is an enemy in the spirit realm that I need to know. He's lying to me. He's going to make me have cognitive distortions. And my faith is the victor.
Wow.
So I walk with him in partnership, and I can own this thing. Wow. Yeah.
That's beautiful because, and I didn't put this together, Tim. You made this point, which was so helpful for me, that as a parent, one of the things I can do is help my kids affirm Scripture out loud, because what you just did is you said, hey, life is happening today. But life isn't just happening to me. I am happening to life.
Yes,
and I'm taking that
locus
of control and bringing it inside of me, that God, you You made me, you designed me, you're in me, and you're walking with me today. That's powerful to do.
Yeah, it is.
You have an image that you use to teach this. when you talk
Yes.
to
So the image that we use at Growing Leaders, we teach leadership and life principles with images. This is simply called thermostats and thermometers. Now think for a minute. Both the thermostat and thermometer have to do with the temperature, but there's a big difference after that. The thermometer can only tell you what the temperature is. A thermostat actually sets the temperature. So as our kids were growing older, we began to talk about this. In fact, when my son went off to college, he left Atlanta, went all the way to LA, and God knows what's happening in LA. I'm just saying. So I framed this and said, go be a thermostat, set the temperature. So be affirming what you know is true. And I feel like he did that through his 4 years out there in LA. It's great.
Well, I know some of you might feel overwhelmed by this. You might think, well, I don't know that I can do this. This is one of the reasons why we try to say all the time, hey, we want to partner with parents. We want to help come alongside of you to make this as easy as possible for you. So let me just give you an example of if you've got elementary age kids, how we can help you with this. This summer, this is going to be the verse that our kids and elementary age kids are going to be memorizing together. And if they're here consistently, I'm telling you, they will know this verse. This is part of what we do. So just listen to this. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you. This is something that I want my kids memorizing. The problem is I'm busy. I've got a lot going on. And so I'm telling you, we can help you with this. We can come alongside and help you teach your kids how to do this really, really well.
You know what I love about this verse? Several things, but here's one. Be internal locus, because God ultimately is in control of everything.
Right.
So that's really what he's saying here. Yeah.
I love it.
Good.
So the second one is this, that we want to help students, help kids, help the next generation see progress.
Yeah. So this is built off another study that's so true to human nature, but we often miss it. So Martin Seligman, way back in the 1950s, 1957, 67, started studying something he calls learned helplessness. The truth of learned helplessness is simply this. When students feel their effort is hopeless, they begin to feel helpless. Meaning when you work at something and you see no results, having this happen to all of us, I see no results. You try and try and try, the rat pulls the lever down, no food's coming out, they eventually give up. And he basically says, we learn helplessness. And parents, if we're doing too much and they're not learning to do it for themselves, they will learn helplessness. So can I give you a to-do list? I believe the first 12 years, more or less, of their life as a child, you need to be their supervisor. In fact, please supervise your child. But the next 12, you start migrating toward consultant. You're learning to do this. My wife had our kids learn to do laundry in high school. Because one day they're going to go off to college, they're going to have to do laundry, and she had them learning it. In fact, I just thought, Liz Murray, I got to meet Liz Murray a few years ago. Liz Murray is the homeless to Harvard girl. She's the one that grew up as a street person on the streets of New York, later went to Harvard on a scholarship. Wow. She said, my freshman year of college at Harvard, I'm standing in front of the washer and dryer next to a classmate, and both of us are crying. Yeah. I was crying, she said, because
for different reasons.
Yeah, for different reasons. I was crying because I'd never had my own washer and dryer. My classmate's crying because she had never used a washer and dryer. So that's the way it goes.
Well, you begin to act helpless when you are hopeless, but you also have, tell us about learned industriousness.
Yeah, so in response to this, another psychologist, Robert Eisenberger, came up with something he calls learned industriousness. This is the key. You move a kid from helpless to hopeless, to hopeful and industriousness when students see even the smallest amount of progress. I'm gonna repeat that. When students see even the smallest amount of progress for their effort, they'll begin to exert more effort. The endorphins start flowing on the inside, not only from seeing the progress, but the hope that's spilling out in their life. And now they push, even though it's hard work. It's no less hard than it was when I didn't see it, but now the very chemicals in my body are moving the right direction. So here's an anecdotal picture of this. I love this story. I worked for John Maxwell for 20 years. He's still a great mentor for me. But John and I were talking about this very subject some time ago, and he said, Tim, my childhood was that. He said, at nighttime, when I was growing up as a young teenager, 12, 13 years old, my brother Larry and I would wrestle in the living room. After dinner, we'd, clean up the dishes and we'd go in the living room and we'd wrestle each other.
Older brother?
Older brother. So Larry's bigger and older and more experienced, so he's beaten John every time. In fact, he said, while my dad, Melvin, was watching, he said he started noticing Larry was pinning me quicker and quicker and quicker each night that went by. So one night, John said, my dad stood up and said, Larry, let me wrestle John one. Let me see if I can take him on. So Larry stepped aside, and John said, what my dad did was brilliant. And in fact, I'm going to get teary telling this story. He said, my dad made me work. He wrestled me. But after lots of work, he let me pin him. And he said, I'll never forget that night. And Larry never pinned me again.
Because he saw the progress.
That was learned. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we can't calculate this, but as you lead kids, teachers, coaches, grandparents, parents, we've got to somehow point out and somehow build a somewhat strenuous, they got to work at it. It can't be easy, but yet you see what you're doing. Yeah. What you're doing matters. You can keep doing this. And that's what we got to do.
The image that you have for this, I think it's such a great concept, but you call it candles and brush fires.
Yeah, this is a brand new habitude, but I love this picture. So think about it. Once again, candles and brush fires are both flames, so there's something comparable, but big difference. Small breath puts out a birthday candle, right? Except for us older people, it takes a little bit bigger breath. But anyway, it doesn't take much to blow out a candle. Brush fire, wind comes along, gets stronger. We have family and friends in our family that live out in California. They asked us to pray against the wind last year when the brush fires went through, because wind just made it stronger. So as I talk to kids, I say, you candle or brush fire? Are you fragile or agile? That's exactly what brush fires are. They just go in the direction they're being pushed, and they just get bigger. Yeah. So it's strength on the inside that we got to build. In fact, I just had a really cool experience. I got a teary letter from a high school kid in Gwinnett County. He said, Dr. Tim, this picture changed my life. I'm going to go from fragile to agile. And he said, I'm praying for the wind. I want to be a brush fire.
Wow.
And I thought, even if it's just not a step, but just a picture he harbors in his head, as he goes off to college, he can be a brush fire. Yeah.
Well, it's tricky as a parent because you don't want to swoop in and fix it for them.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't want to swoop in and give them a trophy after every little thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is our responsibility, and it's a way that we can help move that locus of control from outside to inside to help them see their progress, to help them see, hey, you are making progress, you're growing, you're getting better. I mean, I think it's why Weight Watchers has people weigh on a scale every day or every week or however long they do it. Yeah. Because they want you to see your progress. Hey, you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah.
That's very important. The last one is this right here, number 3. Give them ownership. Give them ownership. What do you mean by that?
Well, I just mentioned a quick point before, move from supervisor to consultant. So as they get older, don't lead them the same way. Don't keep doing it for them. In fact, think about the message this sends to kids. They get in trouble, you go, I'll come down. Well, you know what you're saying? Number 1, that you're Superman and they're Lois Lane. But number 2, oh, bless your heart, you can't do this, I'll do it. And I don't want to send that message. I sent both of my kids off saying, you have it in you to be a woman, you have it in you to be a man, and I believe they do. So part of it is you need to let go and let them actually do it. Now, is it going to be messy along the way? Oh yeah, it will be. So you got to be okay, mamas, with mess. Right. Growth brings mess. But if we'll do this, starting to give them ownership means they have an internal locus of control. This belongs to them, not you. And I think if we're willing to do that, we're going to have great young adults at the end of the journey.
I love what you said at the very beginning, that we're not just raising kids, we're raising adults, raising future adults. So give us the picture for this one.
Okay, so the picture on this one is kind of fun. It's called drivers and passengers. Have you ever stopped to think drivers and passengers get into the car with a totally different mindset? You don't have to think about it. You just get in with a different mindset. If you're a passenger in the back seat, you're just getting in the back seat and you're along for the ride. You're putting earbuds in, waving friends out the window, looking at billboards. If you're a driver, you got to think about where you're going because this is your road. This is your drive. I think far too often we've actually conditioned our kids to be passengers in life rather than drivers. And so this is all about you own your destination. Don't blame somebody else when you didn't get to the destination. And by the way, I probably sound like your old grandpa right now, but because I believe kids can do it, I want them to be a driver. I want my son and daughter to pass me up. So I often prayed over them when they were growing up. God, give them more influence than their mother and I put together. Not fame, influence. And I think we're going to start with making sure we're building drivers, not passengers.
So you mentioned laundry. And what are some other practical ways, practical things that parents, next generation, what can we hand to them?
Well, Clay, I like you mentioned your wife has them at young ages. Talk about what you guys do.
Well, she got fed up. That was not me setting up to ask me a question. Hey, Tim, ask me that question. No, I really want to know from you. But I mean, like any parent, there were a couple of years ago, she just got, I don't know, I guess tired of the entitlement that she was seeing in our own kids.
Yeah.
Because our kids have it really nice. I mean, they've got it way nicer than we even had it as kids.
Yeah.
And so she just said, hey, I am done with it. I'm not making their lunches anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going to teach them how to make their lunches, and then I'm going to hold them responsible to make their lunches. So our 5-year-old, she's now 6, our kindergartner, her teacher sent a note home saying, hey, Sally showed up with like 4 crackers and a half a cheese stick and a half a banana, because Jenny doesn't check. She doesn't check their lunches. Like, hey, you can pick what you want. She taught them how to make sandwiches and do everything they need to do. And she just had to get to the point where she was like, that feels embarrassing to me, because it feels like, oh, what am I doing as a mom? But I've got to look down the road and go, there's going to come a day where they're going to be grateful for this. And so now our kids look around at kids at school and they say, you're not going to believe it, but so-and-so's mom, she packs her lunch and her backpack. Yeah. Can you even believe that?
What a wimp.
Yeah,
exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that.
We never intended for that to happen. We just, I don't know, we just decided that's what we were going to do. So
I love it.
Laundry, picking kids' clothes out, that's another area where we just found as parents, it is so easy to fight with your kids over, you're going to wear what? Not today, well, we just decided we're not going to fight that. We're not going to, our kids, we let them pick out and wear whatever they want to wear. So they end up going to school looking homeless some days,
that's right.
But again, like our goal is not to be the most impressive, fashionable kids at the school. That's not what we're trying to do. Our goal is to try to raise young adults.
You change your report card. So
right.
Alpharetta in general is not doing that. Seriously. But we switch over, it's great. Now, here's what's hard. If you have a temperament that's kind of a perfectionist, I know that my wife is nearly perfect. I call her Mary Poppins. She's practically perfect in every way. So that was harder for her to, the kitchen's going to be a mess, the clothes, what am I going to do? I mean, she's still wondering about my clothes when I get dressed in the morning.
You look great, Tim.
Thank you. Well, she dressed me.
Oh, there you go. That's why. She picked it out.
Yes, she did. I'm not kidding. So anyway, I think we're just going to have to go, I value more the growth than I do the perfect journey along the way.
I love it.
What do you value the most?
I love it. So let me just give you this is the summary of it. Here are the 3 big ideas. Some of you might want to take a picture of that, write it down, post it somewhere. But Tim, these were great, to be able to affirm scripture out loud, help them to see progress and give them ownership. I love that. I want you to talk about experiential mentoring, but I also want you to give this last word picture. And if you can do both and we have time, go for it.
I'll do it quick.
Okay.
All right. So I believe one of the things that made the difference in our kids' lives was we didn't do it alone. We invited a community in with us. In fact, many of you here at North Point were part of the community that helped us create experiential mentoring. So when both my son and daughter turned 13, we created a rite of passage experience for them. Many cultures have rites of passage experience where they move the child in a ceremony from childhood to adulthood. African cultures do this. We really don't have one in America. So when my daughter Bethany was first, and we described in the last service her experience, I want to talk about my sons. When my son turned 13, we got together and we decided we should do it with a group of dads and a group of sons. So there were 5 dads here at North Point and 5 sons that were all 12 to 13 years old. And we went through a year-long journey together, meeting every other week. And we covered qualities that spelled the word champion: courage, honor, attitude, mental toughness, purity, all the way down. And every week we discuss different things. We'd watch video on these different qualities. We introduced them to other men, football coaches, pastors, business owners. A military captain came in and talked about mental toughness. And all the boys were writing down notes, but we'd have experiences. One of the experiences, I don't have time for one. We asked a friend to fly in, he was a pilot, and he flew in his personal plane, his jet, into a private airport. So we had the boys show up at this airport. They didn't know what they were doing. They said, we're gonna meet here, read a book. They said, no, just hang tight. So our friend flies in on the plane. We all board the plane, actually 2 groups at a time. And he starts flying around, and he does the zero gravity drop and turns left and turns right up in the air, and the boys are just loving it. They're just laughing their heads off. When he lands the plane, we go into a room in the airport, and this friend says, you know why I could do all that in my airplane? We all said, no. He said, because I had a flight plan that had bounced off the control tower. You have a flight plan for your life. The last letter in Champion was navigation. So we talked about navigating their life. But it was experiential. I think my son will never forget those in that years. In fact, I would just say, when Jonathan was in late high school, early college, I remember we had a conversation, random conversation. And I just said, Jonathan, if we had a fire in our house, what would be the first thing you'd grab? And I think he said my Bible, but he said—
He had to.
Yeah, he had to, because, I'm his dad.
That's
so,
right.
But you know what he said next? Without any prompt, he said, Dad, I'd go in that safe and I'd grab my notes from that Champion year.
Wow.
And I thought,
wow. Well, how many of you feel like terrible parents at this point? Is it just me? No, the thing I've learned from you, Tim, is that you don't have to do it all. You couldn't have done all that on your own.
I couldn't.
But getting together, it's really the value of church. It's the power of a community like this, that there are people that want to help. There are people that can come alongside and be a part of this journey. You don't have to be the one to try to teach your kids all of these things, but there's a community of people that want to help. And we as a church, we want to help as well. Yeah. So give us, if you could say one thing to seniors. Today's all about that graduating class. What would be the thing you'd say to them?
Well, seniors here today, I love you. I love students. I would say the last image I would give you to remember as you go is one that we call toll booths and roadblocks. Very simple truth, but boy, I hope this sticks in your brain. Adults too. When we come to a toll booth or we come to a roadblock, in both places we have to stop. Just like in life, we get stuck along the way. We lose a job, we get injured, we get bad grade on a test, somebody breaks up with us, somebody divorces us. I'm suggesting we get to choose whether it's a roadblock or a toll booth. Wow. When you come to a roadblock, you're stuck with that little dumb fence and there's no options. You're just stuck and you never move forward. When it's a toll booth, watch this. You stop, you pay a price, and you keep moving forward. I think we've got to help our students make this choice. It's a toll booth. It's a toll booth. We work with D1 athletics. In Alabama, they're doing this toll booth, toll booth, toll booth. Pay the price, keep moving forward. I think this is the picture we've got to paint in their minds as they go.
That is beautiful. And that's really what resilience is all about. It's all about seeing those hard things as, hey, this is something I'm going to pay while I'm in the middle of this so that I can get through this, and it's going to be worth it. It's going to allow me to get on the other side. And so that's what we want for you. That's our hope for you. I hope you'll help us fight for resilience in the next generation. And Tim, thank you for helping us with that. There's a way people can stay in touch with you if you go to growingleaders.com. This book, this particular edition of Habitudes is the one that we gave to every senior today because it's on the art of navigating transitions, which I thought was so appropriate. So a couple of these pictures come from there as well.
That's right.
But thank you for that.
My pleasure.
That's been great. Good. Why don't we do this? Could we end by you praying for us?
I'd love that. Yeah, let's pray. Heavenly Father, it's such a privilege to know you. It's such a privilege to not just join the family of God, but the army of God when we sign up. Thank you for building us into people that can walk with you and serve you. God, I'm praying especially now for any adult who just feels like they haven't really done this well. I pray that you give them hope, encouragement, give them steps they can take, even if their child is an adult child. Give them steps they can take, conversations they can have, images they can hold true to. And God, for the students, I'm asking now you'd build brush fires, drivers, thermostats. I pray that every time they get stuck, it'd be a toll booth and they'd keep moving forward. We place these young adults in your hands today. Have your way and finish the work you began. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, one more time for Dr. Tim. Tim, thank you. That was fantastic.
Wow, what a great message. As a children's director, man, I love the fact that they highlighted the partnership between parents and children's ministry because that's exactly what it is. And we love partnering with parents in the faith journey of their kids. You know, our ministry is designed in such a way that we have other adults who are speaking truth into the lives of our children, and the same truths that the parents are speaking every single day. In our WABA ministry, which is our nursery preschool ministry, we're centered around 3 basic principles. God loves me, God made me, and Jesus wants to be my forever friend. And in Upstreet, those principles are, I can trust God no matter what, I need to make the wise choice, and I should treat others the way that I want to be treated. During this time, during this season, our partnership has been even strengthened more because we've been providing that content and you as parents have been engaging it with your kids at home. And I think that is awesome. Now, for some of you, you listened to that message and you were thinking, you know what? I don't have kids, or my kids are grown and out of the house. How can I still have an impact? Well, the good news is you can. You can have an impact in this generation and the generations to come. 2 ways. One way is you can serve. You can serve in our Wamba ministry, our Upstreet, our transit student ministries, and we would love for you to be that other adult helping to speak truth into the lives of our kids. Now's a great time for you to do that because over the summer, we're going to be doing some different trainings so that we will be ready when everybody's ready to open back up and we're back together again and everybody will have a place. You can do that by texting the word serve to the number below. You'll get a link back. You click on that link and then we will help you every step of the way. Now, another great way that you could have an impact is that you can share the content that we have available every Sunday for all those ages. On our Facebook page, we drop the links for every single age and their at-home service. You probably know somebody who has a child in that age group and could use that content. And that's a great way for you to make a difference. Well, guys, we are so glad that you joined us today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week, where we're going to start a new series called In the Middle. And our teaching pastor, Andy Stanley, he's going to be talking about, what do we do when we're stuck in difficult times? And I think we can all relate to that during this season. So we'll see you guys next week.